Hello, my name is Jack Jennings and I've been asked to explain how would you use an acoustic guitar to do the essential techniques for Indian guitar course that I've created. The course is really laid out for electric guitar, and there's a lot of benefits really to using electric guitar, mainly for the string bending capability and the range that you can get out of a single string. I tend to use just the single G string and then move all the way up to the 19th or 21st fret, because that enables you to do a lot of the sitar-like phrases and get the complete range that you would normally have on the single string in the sitar system. The other great thing about using the G string is that we can use our D as a tonic, that open D string, and then we can play that combined with the G string. So that's really authentic in terms of how you play the sitar. And with the Shakir strings. So I've removed the two low strings, the low E and A string, and I've replaced those with these two high strings. So these are two gauge 8 high E strings, but they're tuned to D. So I can play those two D strings. Check the tuning now. I can play those two D strings, and then my regular D string is there. So that's my drone. And then I can go straight onto my G string as a single sort of strum. I've also got a plain G string here, which really helps with the slides. So the G string really works very well, but if you are playing an acoustic guitar, you really can't move very far beyond maybe fret 14, or, you know, this guitar doesn't even have a cutaway, so it's very hard to get up there. That would be the same if you were playing a classical guitar, you wouldn't have a cutaway. So you can't really do all of the exercises to the full extent that you can if you're playing the electric guitar, basically. So I would really advise looking into using an electric guitar for the course. It can just be a standard electric guitar. This is just the standard one I use for the course, and I have removed the low strings for Shakir strings. So it doesn't have to be anything special. But it's a good idea to put all the springs in the back and tighten them up. So you basically flatten the bridge down, or you can block the trem by putting a block of wood in there. But if you've got all the springs in and you tighten them up, then that's normally enough to secure the bridge. That just means that when you bend a string, the bridge doesn't tilt down and cause the drone strings to go out of tune. So just a standard electric guitar is fine for this. But in terms of using an acoustic guitar, the scale patterns that I tend to use, we can play that one just fine, the 0, 2, 3, 5 on the D string, and then a 2, 4, 5, 7 on the G. Because the course is based on raag kafi, so it's sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, with the kormal ga and the kormal ni. So sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, that's working fine. And there is another box that I've shown people on the course, but a good way that you can play the higher octave would be either to just use the single B string. Again, if you don't have a cutaway, it's not that easy to really do much up here, and you wouldn't be able to reach up to the re, the high re. That would be a 21 on the G string, so you can't really do a lot with that very easily. But that would replace, if you have a cutaway, maybe you can get up there more comfortably. So that would replace the lines that I would tend to do on the G string. So if you get the sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa on that B string, then you'll kind of get used to that. So that's a 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 15, and then a high re would be on 17. That's the sort of highest note that I do on those single string lines. But there is another way that you can play, which might really help, especially if you don't have a cutaway, if you're playing on a classical guitar or an acoustic with no cutaway. You can play that would be sa, re, ga. So you've got the Cornwall ga, the sig fret, and then the ma. So that's the same as before, but with the fingering it's good to slide between the 3 and the 5, and then play a 6, 8 with the middle finger and little finger. And then on the top string, switch to a fret. Sorry, excuse my tuning. That's nice, that's in tune now. The good thing about the drone strings is that you can check the tuning of the root note and the fifth, and you really know if that's in tune. So excuse me, fret 5, that's a pa, and then again slide the index finger to the next note. That's your da at fret 9. Sorry, that's the fret 7, isn't it? Fret 7. Then your middle finger is going to play fret 8, and then little finger plays fret 10, so that's the sa. So you've played your pa, da, ni, sa. So the fingering is the same on both strings, which is really handy. So it's 3, 5, 6, 8 with the index, middle, little, and then on the top E string it's 5, 7, 8, 10 with the index finger twice, and then the middle finger and little finger. Now when you're playing on the B string and the top E string, if you're using the drone strings, you just have to be careful not to strum through too far and play the G string, because if you play the G string, then that G actually starts sounding a bit like it's the tonic, because it has the D in relationship. To be honest, I haven't had this guitar out of the case in a while. It's just on loan to me, so it's going a bit out of tune a bit more often than I'd like. Yeah, when you play that open G, the G starts to sound actually like it's the tonic, and then the D below it starts to sound like it's the pa, like it's the fifth, because if that's a G, you go down from G, and then D is a fifth below. So if you strum that all the way through, the G starts to sound like it's the tonic. So if you do play on the top 2 strings, just watch out with your drone. Just try to only hit the bottom 2 strings, or if you get the D string in there, that's fine as well. But just a word of warning, watch out for that, because otherwise it will mess with the tuning, it will mess with the sense of what key that you're supposed to be playing in. Okay, so that really should get you through just playing the range of the guitar that we need to do for the course. But again, you will really struggle to do all of the different techniques that I use. You could basically do all of the consistent 1-string lines on that D string, sorry, on that B string. You could do all of that practice. You'd really just have to be thinking more in sargam. I tend to use sargam a bit more than actually using fret numbers in the course. So if I'm talking you through and saying sa re ga ma re ga ma, you'll be thinking sa re ga ma re ga ma. You'll have to be thinking about sargam. So really the best thing is to get an electric guitar so you can really follow me, you know, fret for fret, note for note. But it is possible to do all of that on the B string. But what won't really work so well is if I start doing string bending techniques. For one, you won't be able to bend the strings very easily on the acoustic guitar. You won't be able to get the kind of range that we get out of an electric guitar. So an electric guitar, especially doing this style of bending the string downward, we can bend the string very, very far. We can get a good range out of that. So you won't be able to do that on the electric. You won't be able to do that on the acoustic guitar. You'll have to rely. You have to rely more on sliding, which sounds really great, but you won't be able to do the bending, which allows you to do sort of slower transitions between notes. So yeah, you'll kind of be missing out a bit. So the course really is made for getting closer to the sitar aesthetics. So the sitar technically allows you to do that. Sorry, the electric guitar allows you to get closer to the aesthetic of the sitar. It's the electric guitar which allows you to do string bends and get more of that, the whole personality of the sitar to come through a bit more in the playing. So yeah, you know, that's what I would advise. Definitely try to get hold of an electric guitar. Even if you can just get a basic Squire Strat, that will be enough just to kind of get you going. And you don't even really need to worry too much about spending much money on an amplifier if you just need to get started. Something I can show you. Yeah, these days you can kind of just get one of these things, like a Vox headphone amp, but not necessarily to use with headphones. I don't really like playing with headphones that much. You can plug this into a hi-fi. So if you've got a speaker system at home that you would sometimes maybe plug your phone in to play some music, or plug your computer in to play some music, it's just like a mini jack. So you can plug that in and then play through your home hi-fi, and it sounds good. It sounds absolutely fine. Really nice clean tone on there. There's even some overdrive if you want to experiment, and there's some built-in reverb, which is very lush sounding. You can't vary the level of the reverb, so it's a bit, you know, more reverb than I might choose to use myself. But it does make you feel like you're playing through something which sounds good. So you can just get hold of one of these. These are not very expensive. Vox sort of clean headphone amp. So then you can focus on, you know, just getting hold of guitar and not having to spend, you know, £300 on an amp or something like that. So that's what I would advise to do to get the most out of it. But for the meantime, if you are just with an acoustic guitar, then at least you can play through a bit more of the range of the scale, a bit more of the range of the instrument, and try to follow the course content as best you can. Really just try to take on the sargam. If you can start to think in sargam, then you'll be able to play on any string in any position, and the sargam will start to guide you around the instrument better than anything else, really. If you are interested in the Essential Techniques for Indian Guitar course, it's now available via a Patreon subscription. It's available to gold patrons. So go and have a look at that if it's something you'd like to take advantage of. A little announcement I have to make is that the first 25 people to pledge their support on Patreon will gain access to a special 3-part live stream. And in that live stream, I'll just be going through all of the basic skills that you really need to understand Indian classical music and how to adapt it to the guitar. So that will be the best way, just to give you a background and make sure that any of the other courses that you do with me on Patreon, you'll be able to get the most out of them because you'll have your bearings. So there's new courses coming out every month on Patreon to give you a different raag or show you how to develop your playing a bit further in one of the rags that we've already done. So it's going to be a really good platform for learning more about Indian classical music. But the Essential Techniques for Indian Guitar course is really the way that you're going to get everything in perspective, and you'll really have all the skills that you need, you know, to really go ahead with this journey. So keep practicing, guys, keep the guitar playing going, and I'll look forward to seeing you on another video.